We are back.
This is the fourth series now.
Yes, it always feels like a new start, a new beginning, but of an old story, if that makes sense. It just feels like we're getting further down this path, down this journey of support. Season 4 is here and we cannot wait to get started. But this episode's a little bit different.
This is a special. This is a little teaser almost. It's not part of the normal series. It's actually going to be going out on the last day of Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. And this episode is all about that. We've got two amazing guests. We've got Henri Lansbury and Allan Pacey, who's coming back to the pod. It's the first person we can say welcome back. There is something else that we are so excited to say. We've been working on it really hard behind the scenes. And before we dive into today's episode, we're going to share that news. It's been a long time coming. So, Kieran, why don't you do the honours?
Yeah, man, it's definitely been a long time coming. Let's say months. It's been years. Since we've been working together, we've talked about that the male fertility space needs more, and these guys that need the support through these fertility challenges. So we're proud to announce the launch of NeXYs Fertility.
We are. We're very proud. NeXYs is a dedicated platform just for men, and that's something that we're really passionate about. It's real support, real information, expert-led events. It has peer groups, everything that we wish we had. You can join it anonymously as well, which I think is really key. That's why I'm proud to be able to give that ability for people to be able to join and not use their real name.
It's that safe space that men need. You don't have to explain anything. You don't have to pretend that you just turn up and get the support that you deserve as a man facing fertility challenges. So it doesn't matter if you're at the beginning of your journey, whether you're in the middle of treatment or kind of navigating the other side, it's a space for you.
We'd love for you to come and check it out. Head to NeXYsFertility.com and we'll put the link in the show notes too.
Yeah, man. That's it. NeXYs is launched. Come and see us. Come and join us. Come and join the community. And we'll see you there. But for now, let's get on with the episode.
Hello and welcome to the Male Fertility Podcast. This week we're delighted to be joined by former professional footballer Henri Lansbury. He played for various clubs like Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, and most importantly, my beloved Arsenal. And for the first time we're able to say welcome back to a guest, to Allan Pacey. Thanks for coming back.
Pleasure.
And Henri, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Legend. Oh, it's our pleasure to have you both here. Without further ado, let's get into it. It's a really important subject that we're going to talk about today. And at the time of recording, it's Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. So what better time to cover what is a really important episode, not just for men's health in general, but what has a serious knock-on effect or can have a serious knock-on effect to men's fertility. Henri, if I come to you first, tell us what your story, how did it come about and when did you notice that you had this?
It was probably 3 months before I actually told anyone. I felt a lump in the shower and didn't really know what it was, and just thought as a man you just get on with it and it will eventually disappear. But after, like I say, about 3 months or so of playing with it every day after training and sitting on the sofa and constantly in the back of your head, I was about to go on holiday and I was like, I need to get this seen before I actually go away, just for peace of mind or whatever it is. I didn't really know much about cancer back then as well, because it didn't really affect me or the family. So then I went to my local hospital to go and get it checked out, and they said, oh no, you have to wait probably 3 weeks. And I was like, I can't wait that long, not now. Luckily I called the club doctor and he said, right, let me book you an appointment. And I went straight down to Bushy Spires and I got in there, had it checked out, and by the time I got back in my car, I'd had a phone call to say, you're going in for the operation tonight, go and pack a bag. And then I was quite luckily literally went home, packed a bag, then told my mum, dad and my girlfriend at the time. And they were like, what do you mean? What's going on? So I was like, I'm quite laid back as it is. And I was like, don't worry, I'll be all right. I'll be back in the morning and go from there. And for me, that's probably the best bit. I've spoke to a lot of people about it and they say they had to wait a long time. And for me, the waiting game's the worst bit. Obviously playing on your mind all the time. And I wish now that as soon as I found it, I'd said something. And instead of trying to put on my Superman cape of being a man and being like, I can solve this on my own, it would be fine, it would go away. Whereas if you literally go in the hands that help you straight away, it solves a massive problem. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful to everyone at the football club and the doctors that looked after me. But they made it such an easy journey. And then after that, it's obviously just the waiting game of checkups and waiting for results. Probably that was the most stressful bit for me, knowing that I have my checkup on this date and I get my results a couple of days later. But once I got past the 6 months and then the year, and then obviously I think it's 5 years I was having checkups for and clear, and I haven't looked back since. And it changed my outlook on life of having such something happen. And then obviously like days like today, I'm sat in the car in the middle of a field doing a podcast and I'm away with the family. So it does change your outlook on life, and probably for the better.
Yeah, you're right. It's things like that. And I think most people in life have got something that really does make you stop, because we just coast, don't we? And just like you said, you came back to that typical bloke thing of going, it'd be all right. In terms of when you found it and you said you were in the shower, were you specifically doing the checks that we're all told to do, or did you just come across it by accident?
No, I just come across it by accident. Obviously, always in the shower washing and that, and then something felt unnormal. And it was from that point that I then started touching it every day, worried about it, but wouldn't get it seen to you. So it's looking back now, it's so stupid. Like, why would you not just go and tell someone straight away?
That's exactly the point. It's like that. I remember when I read the article when you went out there to raise awareness, and because I've known for a while that we've got a mutual friend, and I read that and I was like, that's it. Blokes, like, why aren't we doing this? And you talked about it so well, because you were in the changing room with the lads. You were at Forest at the time, weren't you?
Yeah. In 2016. Do you know what it is? It's such a typical man thing, and I wish we would just break down the barriers of men just being so masculine and I've solved it on my own. It just breaks down so many barriers if you just say, can you help me with this? It's literally just asking for help. It's not hard. If more men actually went that way, I think a lot more men would be a lot happier.
And healthier.
Yeah.
How did the changing room take it? Did you talk to them initially, like the guys you were playing with, or did you keep that to yourself?
I didn't tell anyone. I told the club doctor, and it was only when I went back in for pre-season. I think I had about 6 months left or a year left on my contract, and then they did offer me chemo, but at that time I was a bit like, oh no, I can't miss pre-season, and going on to it, probably naively, like stupidly, didn't really think about the consequences, but I was so football. I worried about my next contract. And the boys were so supportive, and then everyone obviously when I went through it, then we all started checking, and I just kept it in-house. Didn't really want the public to know about it, because in football there's almost like that stigma of you get abused everywhere you go, and I love the abuse, so I'm all for it, but I didn't want that sympathy vote of being, oh, he's had cancer, if he's had a bad game I'll leave him alone. If I've had a bad game, tell me I've had a bad game, don't feel sorry for me. I didn't really want that side of it. So it was only till when I finished playing, I thought, this is the opportunity now. I can actually go out there and help more people. And the more I've done, there's so many men actually message me and say thank you for actually speaking about it.
Yeah, that's one of the big things, isn't it? Once you actually start talking and raising that awareness, it's amazing how many people actually thank you for it. Because it is, I think, male health in general, there's a stigma to it, doesn't it? It doesn't matter if you're talking about cancer, or if you're talking about fertility, anything. Yeah, men don't want to go and get checked by the doctors, as you just said, Henry, waiting 3 months, even though every day you would have been thinking about that. And we've probably all had a similar situation where we think, well, we should go and get that checked, and it'll be all right, it'll be all right. Did the club offer you any other support, or were you offered any other support after your operation and diagnosis, or was it was treated, then you chose to move on, or was there any other support provided?
It was more, I think, my personality. I was very much upbeat about the whole situation. It's happened to me. I've got rid of it now. Let me just live my life and be spontaneous and do the little things that actually matter in life. So from that, perspective, mentally I was fine after that. It was just the period of when I had my bloods taken and my markers checked. It was them couple of days that would be the ones that would, when's he coming back? When's he coming back? Has he got the results yet? That's the only bit that really stressed me out. But other than that, I was fine. And obviously the boys were brilliant with me. And then obviously all the banter starts about having one ball, and which like they call me one ball wonder now. So it was like literally. But I was like, I've got two, I've got a fake one in there. And they was like, oh, let's see it then. Obviously I'd show them it all in the changing rooms, and they'd be like, oh, can I touch it? I'm like, well, we're not that close, but
I love
But
it.
no, I think you've got to embrace it. Like, there's loads of people now that have had it and speak to them about it. And what I find, the conversation gets even better when I take the piss out of myself.
Mm.
So when I say, oh, look, don't worry, look at this. I've got one ball. Don't move. You can touch it if you want. And they're like, oh, whoa, what do you mean? And then they breaks down the barriers. So it's like that. Like, you break down a barrier with someone, it opens them up. And I wish my barrier had been down straight from the start to go to someone.
Yeah. It's funny because that is echo. I certainly went into the raising awareness about my infertility with humour. My Instagram's called Knackered Knackers. It sets the stall out instantly as to what I'm about. And yeah, it does. It's the old thing that we say, isn't it? If you don't laugh, if you don't cry, you'll laugh, or don't laugh, you'll cry, and all that. But Alan, perhaps I'd like to ask that masculine point of not talking out and just trying to crack on, be a bloke. How does that relate to you in both your lived personal experience with what you went through, but also as a practitioner from the medical side as well?
Yeah, it's so true. Men need to loosen up a little bit and embrace the medical profession on occasions. And this is one where I think going straight to the GP and getting this looked at, or going to your private doctor if you've got one, is a huge benefit. What you said there, Henri, was making me chuckle, because I was 20, 30 years into a career in this, and then I was having a shower and discovered a slightly sore testicle and knew instantly what it was because I recognised the symptoms. But everything you've said rings true, because that was the Friday evening. I had to wait till the Monday morning to phone up one of my pals in the hospital to say, can you check this out for me? That was an odd phone call. Not one word of a lie. He said, come at lunchtime. And I knocked on his door, and he was sitting in his office eating a banana when I walked in. And I said to him, look, I said, this is what's going on here. Can you examine me and just check this out? And he examined me there and then. He finished the banana by that point, and sent me off for some ultrasound, and then it was confirmed within a couple of hours. I would have hated having to wait those 2 weeks. And so I have every sympathy for what you've gone through, Henri, and for every other man. But the medical profession can only move at a certain speed. You'll get fast-tracked if you don't have a quick route in. But I wouldn't be waiting, is my advice. I don't know how you managed to wait for 3 months, Henri, because that is just a lot of time to have that on your mind.
That was probably the most draining bit. Like, coming home from training, worried about it, I felt myself like having naps and that during the day, and I was like, I'm tired. I'm never napped. And it just drained the life out of me. It was only since, like, it's mad, boys' holiday clicks me into gear to go and do something when I should have done it straight away.
Can I ask a question? Did anybody talk about fertility issues with you?
Yeah, they did at the start. But when I spoke to him about it, he said the good one will work overtime. So I was a bit like, oh, do I still freeze it? But it was only at that point when I actually went to, because the operation was so quick after I'd been seen, I didn't have the chance to go to the sperm bank. So I didn't have kids at the time. But luckily he said to me, look, your other one will work twice as hard and cover for your mate. And he said it should be fine going forward. And touch wood, I've had 2 beautiful children. And yeah, they're enough now. You can take the other one.
It is a common misconception. Everybody thinks that if you've had one testicle removed, that means your sperm count will be half what it was before. But actually, it's true. The other one does pick up the slack. And actually, men that have only got one testicle can produce almost the same amount of sperm as somebody with 2, because the system is redundant. There's an element of redundancy in the system. It's like it puts its foot on the accelerator a bit more and starts making more sperm and more testosterone as well. So, you know, there's usually no detriment to secondary sexual characteristics in terms of having an erection or having a beard or what have you. It does. The system is incredible.
Yeah, and even that one ball working overtime still does more than both of mine put together. Alan, is there any situations where both have to come out?
Yeah, it's quite rare, and it usually doesn't happen at the same moment. But there is a very small number of men who have a tumor in the testicle on one side, and then in the subsequent 5, 6, 7 years from that, then a tumor develops in the other side. It's very rare for both of the testicles to get tumors in at the same time. This is rare. Most cases of testicular cancer affect one testicle and don't affect the other. But over 35 years now, I've probably met 2 or 3 men that have had both testicles removed. And that's why the offer of sperm banking at the outset is really important, because there's a danger that if you are going to have a tumor in the second testicle, that then it won't be working as well, and the sperm that are produced are less bankable. Usually there's some, so you're okay, but it is a risk.
In relation to affecting your fertility, is it the cancer itself, or is it the treatment in terms of having chemotherapy after it? Which part it is, if someone's listening to this thinking, I've got testicular cancer, I need to be aware of what's going on, I'm going to have chemotherapy. Is that the bit that's going to play the part that they need to be aware of?
It's actually a little bit of both. One of the things about getting testicular cancer is that it's a signal that the testicle isn't as well developed, isn't functioning as well, and so possibly isn't producing as much sperm. And the very fact that you have one removed can, in these rare cases where the testicle on the other side isn't working as well, lead to problems. As I said, that's quite a rare event. But most of the risk comes from the treatments that are given to treat the cancer. Now, not every man that has testicular cancer will have treatment. If the tumor is contained within the testicle, then just removing it surgically is sufficient. In some men, you can get spread of the tumor into other parts of the body if they don't spot it in time or if they wait. In my case, I had what are called metastases coming up the middle of my abdomen and moving towards my lungs. And so I had to have some treatment. I had radiotherapy treatment, which is really not given very often these days. If it's spread even further and it's got to the lungs or any other part of the body, then you may need higher doses of chemotherapy. And the problem with infertility is the risk of infertility goes up with the intensity of the treatment that's given. Now, what we see in testicular cancer is that if you wait, you can find that the fertility recovers, because the remaining testicle that's been exposed to all these things recovers and starts to produce sperm again. You might have to wait 5 years, and the graph slowly goes up over time. So the prospects of getting your fertility back after treatment for testicular cancer are actually really good, but you've got to wait. Now, for young men, that's often not a problem because they may not have a partner, they may not be thinking about kids, so they've got time to wait.
I'll come back to you for a minute. You said 2016. How old were you then?
Yeah, 2016. I was born in 1990. I was 26.
And that's pretty much like the prime of your career, isn't it, really? Like,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was flying high, and suddenly, all of a sudden, this just hits you. And like I said, like mentally, I'm not a stressful person. So, like I said, the only bits for me were just drain of the waiting and why am I, why, like, when I look back now, why I took so long, I will never know.
I think it's probably quite complex, isn't it? I can't talk from having had testicular cancer, but from being a bloke and having to give a different example, fertility issues, and just thinking, oh, you'll be all right. Not me. Yeah. It's just time will tell. And we do just bury our head because that's what society's told us to do. And you mentioned earlier that I think you were coming towards an end of your contract, and I have no doubt that was probably on your mind as well. Did you mention that about the chemo aspect?
Yeah, so I got offered chemo, and at the time, obviously, I had my contract close to being up in the air. I was close. Was I leaving? Was I staying? And I just didn't want to miss that period of as soon as I'd had it out to get fit again to be able to shoot straight back in. But I touch wood, nothing come back, and I was okay.
You mentioned that whole thing of not wanting to go public because of almost the sympathy angle. Was there any fears about telling your teammates with dressing room banter and stuff?
No, not really. Not in the change room. The football world's a different place. I think if something said in the change room, it stays in the change room, and which is very good of football. And for me to be able to obviously have it in 2016 and finish probably 3 years ago, and it didn't come out. So there's a trust in the football world, and it stayed in there. But that was my first concern. I signed for Aston Villa after it, and I said to the doctor, I said, "Oh, I've had testicular cancer." He went, "Yeah, don't worry about it. We're up to date with all your stuff." And I was like, oh, like another sigh of relief as a fact. And he was brilliant with me as well. He kept me updated on all my checks and all that. And then I'd have days off from training and go and get checked. And no, they were brilliant. Everyone I've been with, that when I was going through the period, they were fantastic with me, and I can't thank them enough for it.
Yeah,
That's
good to hear.
Yeah, really great to hear about that kind of the sanctity of the dressing room as well. And I think of how important that could, if other blokes had that in whatever it is, like if they're playing local sports or whatever, just having somewhere where they know they can say something and it is held in confidence and have the trust of the guys to open up. I just think, wow, if we could somehow foster that a bit more amongst blokes as well, how much we could bring things on a bit.
Yeah, but it's amazing because obviously I told my best friend, and the day I was going in for the operation, and when I woke up, he was literally sat by my bedside table, and he was like, "Why haven't you told me this ages ago?" I was like, I didn't really know what it was until today, and when I messaged you. And literally as soon as I woke up, opened one eye, looked at him, he just started laughing and said, "You've only got one nut now." And literally, that's what you want for your best friend, didn't you? And as soon as you start laughing about it, it just opens up whole conversation. And then everyone just eventually, when I told all my friends and the family and that, they're all like, "Oh, mate, we've been checked and still checking now. What does it feel like?" And it's nice to actually open up and speak about it to them.
Yeah, it is. I can say that. And I know Kieran's the same as well from our fertility side of things. It is. It's just, you're not holding on to stuff. You're having a laugh about it, opening up. There's a time for serious conversations as well.
Yeah,
And
the way I find it, the more you actually speak about it, the easier it gets. And then the weight off your shoulder just clears more and more. So it's, when I speak about it now, I'm so open. Like anyone could ask me anything about it, and I'd give you my honest opinion, how I went through it and how I dealt with it. And I'm happy to say to anyone, if they want to message me on Instagram or check my messages, just reach out, and we'll have a chat and point you in the right direction where I think maybe the right way to go about it. But the ultimate thing is go and get checked out.
Definitely. It's literally saves people's lives, doesn't it? Like, it's a big thing. Alan, Henry mentioned there where he was 26 when, he got cancer. How common is testicular cancer, and what's the age range?
Yeah, it's perhaps one of the most common cancers of men in their reproductive years, but actually it's quite rare. So your lifetime risk of getting testicular cancer is about 1%. So, one guy in 100 over the course of his life will get it. It can happen at a very young age, teenagers. It can happen to guys in their 70s, but the peak age does seem to be at around age 30 to 35. That's when it reaches a peak. And that's why it's such a concern for men's fertility, because it has a risk of happening exactly at the point in a man's life when he's thinking about having children. If it happens early in a guy's life, he's got a chance to recover and get his fertility back. If it happens later in a guy's life, then he's probably not thinking about children. It's those reproductive years and the fact that it might happen in those reproductive years that makes it one of the most challenging things for fertility. And also the fact that it involves the testicles, the very things that are producing sperm.
I've spoken to a guy who, he was 16 when he got testicular cancer, and it was actually if I recall rightly, it was his mum that asked the question about his fertility moving forward, because he's only a young lad. He didn't know. Like, he ain't thinking about having kids, is he? He's thinking about going out with his mates and enjoying himself at that age. So what are the symptoms that people should look out for? Because you hear the lump in the testicles is the one that is the big one, isn't it? But what else should guys look out for?
I think the primary thing really is the fact that the testicle feels funny, if I can use that phrase. My advice is that every man should get intimate with his testicles and work out at an early age what's normal for him. There's the scrotum, the bag that the testicles sit in, has got all sorts going on. The testicles in there, there's various bits of pipe work and plumbing, and it's quite a complicated thing. But if you can get used to what is normal for you, then when you're soaping yourself in the shower, you will notice when something changes. Now, other things can change. There are things I'm sure you've discussed on this podcast called varicocele that can...
Yeah, I had one, and I found it in the shower. And I remember that, like, the blood draining, like just feeling that panic, and then asking my wife to come in and really cop a feel of these. Not, but for once, I wasn't trying to get a free one, but it was like, I remember the look in her face because it was tangible. She could feel it, and I remember that look. And yeah, it's being like, I didn't know about varicoceles, but this is why it's great to cover it now, because obviously I had, but also unfortunately, when I went to get checked, and obviously the sonographer he knew what I was worried about. He knew what he was looking for, a tumor. And then he brushed it off as, oh, don't worry, it's just a cluster of tubes. So actually, he didn't know the implications that can have for fertility. But yeah, it's like, that is such an important message, because that wasn't there before. And then, or I certainly hadn't felt it before. And it was quite obvious at that time.
You can also get, as well as a varicocele, you can also get lumps and bumps, cysts, fluid-filled cysts that kind of hang around in the scrotum, and they're often mistaken for tumors, but they're the kind of things that kind of appear and go away. We get cysts all over our bodies, and they're not things to worry about. The defining thing really is if it feels a bit sore. You know, you said, Henry, you kept going back to feel it, and I want to ask you the question, did it feel a little bit sore, a little bit tender when you were feeling it?
Yeah, it was tender, but I found it like a bit like a frozen pea.
Yeah.
And like you say, like when you get comfortable with obviously washing myself every day and that, you do notice it. And it was just, I'd roll my thumb over it all the time. And for them 3 months, it was like, it's not right. That's not right. That shouldn't be there. That shouldn't be there. When you're going to go? When you're going to go? And like I said, if I'd have just gone straight away and just said, I've got this lump, can you have a look at it? It would have probably made my life so much easier.
Most trained doctors can feel it in an instant, and they know what it is. And then the defining thing really is to have that ultrasound scan.
That's the thing. When I got on the table and the doctor looked at me, went, okay, he literally rolled his finger over it once, got the ultrasound out and went, okay, thanks. And I was out the door. I was like, oh, that was quick. What was I worried about?
5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes to diagnose it. Absolutely.
Yeah. What was I worried about? And then got the call to go in for the operation. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to pack a bag and I'm back. Wow. But I find that, like, when I speak to a lot of people, they get checked out, obviously get told they had it or have it. And then they had that waiting period of, I'm like, listen, till your operation, you have to stay so positive mentally. Don't let you drain yourself, because you're in the best hands now. They know what's going to happen. They know what they're doing. They do it all the time. So don't start panicking yourself about doing this, doing that. And like, obviously I can't speak for them, like how they're feeling, but I can imagine obviously the drain on that waiting to the operation is the hardest bit. Once you know you get it, you obviously a shock to the system. But I think if you can deal with it mentally, if your best cause of having a successful mind going into the operation and coming out the other side being positive, but obviously it had an effect on me of taking me the other way, not putting me down into a spiral of thinking I've had cancer. Like, it put me saying, I've got to live my life now. Like, it can happen to me. And but yeah, from that sense, it was a surreal moment, because you never think it's going to be you, do you?
No. And I guess as a professional athlete as well, you probably got super fit, got your diet and nutrition all on point. So you probably feel that you're optimal. Yeah,
that's the thing as well. It's like, I don't think I heard about it too much, because I was in this, if I remember rightly, I was in this world of just football and didn't see nothing about cancer or anything like that. And as soon as it hit me now, like, I see it everywhere. The C word is everywhere, and every day something's happened. Someone says something like that. Whereas before, I can't remember seeing it.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a bit like fertility. Like you don't think about it until you get dealt that card. And then it becomes a really big part of your life. It's something that's with you, isn't it? Like you've experienced it. And I think it just makes you more consciously aware of what else is going on in the world, whether it's fertility or cancer. But it's another, you're talking about that 2 week wait. It's another 2 week wait in the medical profession where it's difficult because there's a 2 week wait after the fertility treatment. And that time is incredibly difficult when you can't quicken it up. Did you have anything like specifically that you did, Henry, that helped you deal with the stress? Like, because you would have felt some kind of stress about it. Is there anything you put in place that kind of helped you?
No, I was surrounded by good people, so I was training every day. And back then I was living in a flat on my own, so I was just playing computer straight away from training. And so I was in a little bowl, had my dinner, and then back on the computer. And no, it's, like I said, the only waiting game is the results. And I can't really think what I did. It was just more of more of a worry than anything. But yeah, that was the main problem for me, the worry of them couple of days waiting. So I just tried to keep myself busy as possible, and then just wait for the doctor to call me.
That's definitely good advice. Keeping yourself busy, because it's when you haven't got something to do, your mind thinks about the things that are happening in life. Me and Sean have talked about this several times about planning our lives out and how we cope with those stresses. And you probably did that even unconsciously. I'll keep myself busy because it makes me feel better.
How about you, Alan, in that scenario? Obviously, you're working in the field, and did that give you extra reassurance, knowing what was the next steps were going to be, or extra worry?
I'm not sure it did. I carried on working, which was bizarre. I took it upon myself to bank my own sperm in the sperm bank that I was running, which is an odd thing to have done.
It's an odd perk, isn't it?
Yeah, it's another job. You get to masturbate at work and bank your own sperm. And I just tried to remain positive. And I think the thing that helped me remain positive was the very fact that I'd seen so many guys in the same position come through and also come out the other side and get on with their lives. And I knew this was going to be a bit of a wobble. Like Henry, there was lots of jokes going round. I ended up having my testicle removed, and I knew the surgeon, I knew the anaesthetist, and I knew the nurse. And I thought, I can't just lie on this table going into the operating theatre and not say anything. So I memorised a limerick about a guy with one ball, and I can't remember it now, but as soon as they wheeled me into the ante room to give me the anaesthetic, I just started with this limerick to try and make them laugh. And apparently the anaesthetic took over, and I just went and never punchline. Literally, it's a travelator. You've got to get on this travelator. You've got to remain positive, and you've got to know that there's another side to it. And I think getting on it as quickly as possible and just going through the process. These people have seen this a lot. I'd seen it a lot. And I think of all the cancers, it's a bit of a cliche, but of all the cancers, this is the one with the highest survival rates, highest cure rates. Get on with it, lads. Identify it early by getting to know your balls. And if there's something wrong, get on with it.
Is there anything that can specifically cause it? Is there any research in that in terms of what kind of raises the percentage birth?
Yeah, there isn't. It's not one of these cancers that's linked to smoking or diet or lifestyle or that kind of thing. It does really seem to be something that you're born with. It's oddly linked to infertility. So there's a higher prevalence of testicular cancer risk with guys who have some kind of infertility. And they may not know it at that stage. It may only become apparent at that time. And it really is down to the fact how your balls were put together at the beginning when you were in your mum's womb, really. So I just wouldn't worry about things that you might do to change it. I just try and live your best life, be as healthy as possible for all the right reasons. But I don't think I would worry about this from a testicular cancer point of view. There's very little to suggest you can change your chance of getting it.
Well, it's good to know, because I know a lot of people do think about things like that in life, don't they?
There is one, I guess, one cautionary note to that is that there's a thought that in some cases it's linked to genes and genetics. So if you've got a father or a brother that had testicular cancer, you are ever so slightly increased risk of getting it yourself. but they're really rare cases. I don't think I've ever encountered one.
It's important information that people need to know, and we've covered
Yeah.
quite a lot of ground. It's been a really informative discussion because we've had the personal experience, but also the medical side of things and the research backup.
Yeah, we'd like to end on one kind of key piece of advice that you'd give people that are in the situation now. Henry, what if you could speak to the younger version of yourself? What is it? Or any bloke listening, what would you say? What would your one piece of advice be?
It's funny. I'd say grab your balls and then go and see someone. Like, it's the only way you can do it. Don't grab and walk around with them. Grab them and go and see someone. Don't put yourself through the stress of that worry. Just pick them up and walk to the closest GP, doctor, and just go and get them checked out.
If you've got to worry, just go and get it checked. Go and
Exactly.
get it.
It is simple, but at the same time, I get it from not doing it, but just trust the advice of someone who's lived it, and just it's so important. So just swallow your pride and go to the doctor.
That's it. And Alan, what would your bit of advice be?
Yeah, I think very similar. It would be get to know what your balls are like, get to know them intimately. And if you can't be bothered or it's too difficult, get a friend to do it for you. Just make sure that you get a good MOT every week. And if you spot a change, straight to the doctors.
It's perfect advice. You literally can't make it any simpler than that, can you? Men have just got to get over that stigma, that fear of being judged. In this situation, you do want it judged. You do want it sorted. Thank you, Henry, for your time. I know you're away and busy. And Alan, thanks for coming on and helping us out as well, returning to the Male Fertility Podcast.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.